Hello, everybody. All right. This Wednesday, December 27th, 2023. I hope everybody's having a good week thus far. Of course, this is hump day. We're in the middle of the week. We're getting over the hump of the week, as it were. Um, we're just, of course, going to wait, give people a chance to come in, give people a few more minutes to come in. So, as always, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That would be appreciated. Also, if anything here that we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions the best of my ability. So, with that, as I said, we're just waiting on more people before we get started. Um, we'll be going over some articles from, of course, Bounding into Comics tonight, primarily. Time pending, might even hit one from Bleeding Fool as well, depending upon how fast we get through the three I picked for tonight. Let's see. So, as I said, hopefully and of course, we'll have our nightly wrestling wrap up as well as this day in each history towards the end. Let me see now. Let's see. We're coming up on 2 minutes here. So why don't we go ahead and I guess I'll talk a little bit already about. So what's on tap for tonight, as it were. Well, tonight we're gonna go over, as I said, three articles from Bounding into Comics. One talking about Marvel Comics exec Tom Brevoort pushes back after fans hope new X-Men event ditches ideology-driven storytelling, claims team is rooted in the message. Okay, we know how that's been going. Warner Brother Discovery recognized the unionization of their animation studio and Cartoon Network. Um, and we will also be looking, and in a kind of a follow up to an article we covered last night, the English localizers unhappy after Ancient Magus Bride um, announced AI human hybrid simulpubs. Um, Basically, this is a follow up to the announcement from Bushy Road Works that they were going to use a combination of AI and human editors to do their simulpubs, basically to translate the instead of hiring out actual localizers. This is, of course, in response to how some localizers will tend to push the quote unquote message, you know, instead of respecting the original source material. So, anyways, let's take care of something here. All right. So, with all that being said, this. All right. So, with all that being said and out of the way, let's see. We're about 4.5 minutes. So, why don't we go ahead and jump right into the articles then? So, I'll read through the articles, give my commentary on them as well. Let's get into this then. All right, so get into this. Marvel Comics executive Tom Brevoort pushes back after fans hope new X-Men event ditches ideology-driven storytelling, Flames team is rooted in the message. Article by Spencer Cooley, published this past, of course, Monday, the 25th, Christmas Day, basically. So that's so in dashing the hopes of many an X fan, Marvel Comics exec Tom Brevoort has pushed back against those who voiced concern that the publisher's newly announced next X-Men event would see the team further subjected to the publisher's current ideology, character subversion-driven editorial direction by claiming that the merry band of mutants has always been rooted in quote-unquote the message. So basically, he's sticking his middle finger up at the fans once again. Officially revealed by Marvel on December 20th, the aptly titled X-Men from the Ashes event will serve as a follow-up to the currently ongoing Fall of X and see the X titles reborn, quote unquote, in July 2024. However, outside of this brief tease of a line-wide reboot and a logo featuring the 1990s version of the team's logo, the publisher did not offer any additional information regarding the event. Maybe trying not to stick the finger, but all right. So continuing on here. Notably, while Marvel's official tweet announcing the event drew little criticism, it would Brevoort's own promotion of the event, in which he shared the above graphic and teased, quote, "Start the clock," that would see fans pour out to voice their concerns. Spencer Cooley comment. Quote, unless you retcon the past 10 to 20 years of X-Men canonical history, so none of it ever happened, or reveal they were all damaged, sinister clones the whole time while the real X-Men were in stasis, it's all pointless, unquote, wrote Twitter user at Thor8 Odinson. Let's see, quote, the damage go back way before the terrible Krakoa era. So short of a massive recon, you've effectively broken these characters for good. Congratulations, unquote. Likewise, at Crypto Count opined, quote, unless Marvel cleans house, ridding themselves of the current writers, majority of artists and editors, it will be nothing but a countdown to more failure, unquote. Basically, and the point being is that if they continue the ideology-driven storylines, if they continue trying to push an agenda, the sales are going to continue to. You could reboot it as many times as you want, but if you're still putting out the material that fans are turning away from, it's not going to do. Reboots are not going to do a bit of difference. They may get the first issue or two to see what you're doing, and then once they recognize what you're doing, if it's something they don't like, they will continue to walk away. And if people like Brevoort decide to just continue sticking the middle finger at the fans, then you're gonna find people like Brevoort and like Kelly Sue DeConnick and Matt Fraction going on and lamenting, why aren't people buying my book? When you tell them every time that if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. So um, that's kind of the attitude they take, and you start flipping the bird to your fans. Your fans are sooner or later liable to start flipping the bird back at you. So, and it's been very apparent over the past at least 2 or 3 years, if not more. Um, quote, the industry hasn't admitted the problem yet, unquote. They added, quote, until then, nothing will change. Well, they're right about that because you have a lot of these mainstream whereas the ones who do know better, people like Chuck Dixon, like Mike Barron, like Ethan Van Sciver, like Gabe Eltabe, like John Malin, you know, people like them have already figured out long ago that this is not the way to go. But apparently, people like Bravehort and Kelly Sue DeConnick and Matt Fraction and Gail Simone, and just continuing, the downward spiral. As I said, you start flipping the bird to your fans. One of these, somewhere down the line, your fans are going to start flipping the bird right back at you. Taking note of the event's use of the 90s logo, at Inhumanation, stressed to Bravort, quote, the fans made the industry and took it from the counterculture to the mainstream. We watched our beloved heroes get prostituted out for the last 30 years. And for this to have any chance at recapturing any of the magic from that time, it has to be more than shoehorned DEI, which uh, basically DEI stands for diversity. Diversity. Let's see. Diversity, equality, and inclusivity, I believe, or something to that effect. Not to be confused with Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. uh, anyways, giving a cheeky take on the situation, noted comic book YouTuber at Comic Perch laughed. Quote, watching Twitter fans throw a fit about the end of the Krakoa era after, quote, 3 years of comic investment, end quote, smaller quote, is quite something. I mean, can you blame them? Imagine collecting comics for 3 years and then the tone of the comic changes dramatically. The horror, unquote. But rather than engage with these disappointed and hesitant fans in good faith, the Marvel VP, Vice President, instead responded to their concerns with a tired attempt to paint them as homophobes and bigots. Quote, well, this X-Men graphic sure brought people out in force, unquote, dismissed Bravort. Quote, one reminder that I thought wouldn't be necessary. Express whatever opinion you like, but if you show up with homophobia or bigotry or hate speak of any sort, it'll be an instant block. Oh, basically because people don't agree with the fact that you're trying to push an agenda down your throat, um, that's homophobia and bigotry. No, that's you're stupid, Braveheart. It's stupid. Unsurprisingly, the Marvel Comics editors' condescending flippancy was met not with applause, but rather further criticism of the publisher's disregard for not only its own characters but its fans. Yeah, it's kind of the attitude we talked about. Like it's the attitude that Kelly Sue DeConnick so eloquently um, articulated. If you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. One such frustrated fan was at Gavin Knight, who responded to Brevort's dismissal by cutting through his attempts to run defense for Marvel Comics' low quality output and directly requesting, quote, how about you tell a good story and stop shoving the message down our throats, unquote. Or Gravenite, I guess. I thought it was Gavinite, but well, okay. Here it says at Gavinite, but then I'm looking at the actual tweet there. It says Raven Knight. So in turn, and in doing so, inadvertently confirming fans' fears that the X line was set for even more years of ham-fisted social politics. Bravort attempted to shut down both at Gavin or Graven Knight and their like-minded critics by raising the popular yet false belief that X-Men were created as superpowered analogs to the 1960s American Civil Rights Movement. Quote unquote, it's X-Men, declared the editor. Quote, the message is the premise. I don't know. As I understand it, I don't think that was the case because I think the whole fight for mutant, recognition, all that came later. Because I think many of the, if I understand correctly, I think many of the early issues focused just simply on the X team battling like Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil in many ways. Uh, as noted above, despite this read of the X-Men having become a recent element of the team's pop culture identity, it was not part of their original concept. As explained by the team's co-creator Stan Lee during a 2004 interview given to the Archive of American Television's Lisa Torada for the group's Living Television Collection, quote, well, there's a funny story. Everything is a funny story. Quote, after I had done the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, Spider-Man, I think the X-Men came next, unquote, said the industry icon. The X-Men and one other, I think Daredevil, they're about the same time. Strangest superheroes of all time, the X-Men. Don't miss the fabulous first issue. X-Men versus Magneto, Earth's most powerful super. Yeah, it doesn't really sound like they're talking about mutancy at that point. Quote, anyway, and this is of course Stan Lee talking. Anyway, I wanted to do another group of superheroes, but I was getting tired now of figuring out how they get their superpowers, unquote, he explained. Quote, I couldn't have everybody bitten by a radioactive spider or exposed to exposed to a gamma ray explosion. Quote, and I took the cowardly way out, unquote. He continued, I quote, I said to myself, in small quote, why don't I just say they're mutants? They were born that way. We all know there are mutants in real life, There's a frog with five legs, things like that. So I won't have to think of new excuses. Um, I'll get as many as I want, and yeah, he's a mutant. That's all. Unquote. Hmm. Yeah, that's per Marvel's preview graphic. X-Men from the Ashes sparks to life on July 2024. So the very the very founder, the guy who created the X-Men, was even saying, no, it was never an analog for the American Civil Rights Union. He just wanted to put another group of superheroes together, but he didn't want to have to be creative and think about, just how they got there. He didn't want to have to like have another complex origin story. He just figured if he made it, he just figured if he made it, um, he just figured if he made it, made them, well, they're born with it. That would be sufficient. So, hey Jr. I see you there. Hail Zenu and Xena. Happy New Year. Yeah, well, we still got a few more days before New Year, so I hope you'll be back tomorrow and Friday and Sunday. Let's see. And if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people on to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything we go over here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, anyways, getting ready to move on to the next article here in the movies television section here. But probably also having to do with some cartooning as well. So, let's get into this next article. Warner Brothers Discovery recognizes unionization of their animation studio and Cartoon Network. Article by J.B. Augustine, published December 26th, which is, of course, yesterday, 2023. Now, let's get into this then. So, 5 months after the SAG AFTRA strikes ended and the studios came to an agreement with the unions, Warner Brothers Discovery now recognizes the efforts by the production workers at Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers Animation to form a union under the Animation Guild, IATSE Local 839. Quote, after months of discussions with the studio, I am proud that we are able to reach an agreement with Warner Discovery for representation of animation production workers at Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios, unquote, 839 business representative Steve Kaplan said to Deadline. Quote, the recent Walt Disney Animation Studios NLRB decision regarding the appropriate placement of production managers and production supervisors in the bargaining unit certainly helped the company better understand our demand to include those categories. And our long-standing productive relationship helped to forge the agreement we signed, unquote, he added. Hmm. All right, so let's see. Oh, I guess I overshot there, but one logic flaw I've seen before in Bounding in comics, they claim a past writer didn't intend X, but that doesn't mean at all subsequent writers didn't write stories with the theme. Hmm. Hmm. Let's see. Because Bane's creator Chuck Dixon didn't include American intervention as a theme, doesn't mean that at all that Hispanic writers did include American intervention. Yeah, but that's basically. I think the idea is that um, if they did, then they basically I think it goes back to the idea that it was not the original intent of the characters to go that route. Um, yeah, didn't. All right. In other words, um, yeah, as we've actually been seeing, you know, newer writers will decide to make their own interpretations, and sometimes those interpretations um, do not mesh with what the original creators um, intended. And if that's the case, and the original writers are basically doing something wrong there in terms of not honoring the original source material of what was actually intended for the characters. Quote, the American Guild looks forward to continuing that relationship as we begin to bargain the terms and working conditions of an agreement for the hardworking animation production staff at the two companies, unquote, Kaplan continued. And as Lois Lane, let's see. The newly unionized positions include production manager, digital production assistant, production coordinator, IT technician, design production coordinator, assistant production manager, senior assistant production manager, and creative production assistant. Oh, although many might not think it, production is a specialized skill. We might not be artists or writers, but we but what we bring to the table goes beyond traditional creativity and gets content on the air, unquote, said Hannah Ferenc, WBA production manager. Subsequent authors have always grown and expanded on the original stories, or they would never grow. Yes, but I think in the past they never took it so far that the message became more than the story. I think now we got to the point where the message is becoming too much, um, is overshadowing the story, and that's what fans are basically upset about. They don't want to be preached at. And as I said earlier, as long as these editors and as long as these artists and writers keep pushing the message and keep flipping off the fans are sooner or later going to start flipping the bird right back at them, and then they're not going to be buying their book, and then um and then they're going to just continue to fail, they go bankrupt. Quote, having lived through the existing state of the American industry for the past 7 years, I want to make sure that not only our current workers, but all those who choose to join us in the future, can feel secure in following their passion by earning livable wages and being treated with dignity and respect they deserve, unquote, she continued. There's a flaming space ghost there. Despite Farrank's comments, the unionized entity, now recognized by Warner Brothers Discovery, was hit with layoffs. 10 workers were let go, while a half dozen others were promoted according to Deadline. Consequently, the number of staffers, 66 at WBA, Warner Brothers Animation, and 22 at Cartoon Network that would have benefited has been reduced to 50. So, businesses are kind of cutting back. So we're trying to save money. So as we get ready to move on to the next story here, as I said, this one's going to be the next one here is going to be a follow up to a story that we looked at yesterday, kind of from the manga side of things. English localizers. This is English localizers response to. Now, yesterday we covered an article about how Bushiroad Works, which is a publishing company that publishes The Ancient Magus Bride, how they decided rather than hiring out Western localizers, they decided that they're going to use a combination of AI translation. They're going to basically produce their own English simulpubs utilizing a combination of AI translations and human editors. Human editors kind of, basically do, kind of fine tune whatever the AI comes short on, as opposed to just hiring out the Western localizers. So English localizers unhappy after The Ancient Magus Bride announces AI human hybrid simulpubs. Quote, such disrespect for the substance of the original text is saddening. Well, actually, the people who are disrespecting the original text are the Western localizers. Article by Nerdigans Inc. published yesterday. So I think that's right. So, in seemingly realizing that they no longer have free rein to butcher original works in service of memes or tired socio-political screeds, a number of English language localizers are unhappy with Japanese publisher Bushiroad Works. Well, yeah, because they're basically getting fired. I think that's what it's coming down to. They're basically being told, something, your services are no longer required because we don't like what you've been doing to our works. Recent turn to using a combination of AI technology and human editors to produce their own English language simulpubs for Korei Yamazaki's The Ancient Magus Bride. First announced on December 12th, this new hybrid translation endeavor will see Bushiroad Works utilize Mantra Company's eponymous manga and webtoon specific Mantra translation engine and the editorial skills of human translators to produce simultaneous simulpubs, all of which the publisher hopes will help tamper down on the series' widespread piracy by overseas readers. So basically, the fan subs, I think, is what they're going after, more or less, here, is what I was pointing out yesterday. Notably, despite Bushiroad Works' press release, specifically stating that the Ancient Magus Bride English language simulpub chapter would be using both AI and human input, Anime News Network's headline omitted this detail. Yeah, they just, as such, thanks to their coverage being one of the most widespread across social media, Western critics near universally misinterpreted this announcement as confirmation that the publisher would only be using the former resource and not the latter. In other words, basically one of the things that the Western localizers tried to do to kind of misinterpret the message was they were saying that Bushiroad was saying that they were only going to use AI and not humans, and that's not the case. They're going to use human editor, like they're going to use the Mantra company's translation program and translate, and whatever, for whatever reason, whether it's cultural or like there are certain words that don't translate, certain aspects that don't translate. Whatever those are, they're going to bring in human editors to kind of touch up and fine tune that. So, and I of course heard about this latest article from Yellow Flash. So. All right, so as we continue on with the article here, but instead of considering whether they could combat the advent of AI hybrid simulpubs by focusing on better quality translations, a large number of Western based Japanese to English localizers, many of whom have themselves inserted their own American politics into Japanese media, proceeded to, in parentheses here, ironically enough, denounce Bushiroad Works, announced it as an insult to the series' original text, which is kind of ironic because that's exactly what they were doing when they would put their own political, their own ideological spin on things. Quote, such disrespect for the substance of the original text is saddening, unquote, claimed Infinite Dendrogram and Rants X Showdown localizer Andrew Hodgson. Claimed, quote, especially with a series as thoughtful as this one, corporate greed knows no bounds, of course. It's funny to me also that the official tweet announcing this only mentions the AI part in Japanese, shameless, unquote. I don't think it did, but let's see. Your boy Konming translator Jacqueline Fung likewise lamented, quote, speed isn't the issue. You can find good translators with quick speeds. This is so disrespectful it hurts, unquote. Save your money and use Google Translate instead, unquote, wrote Shaman King 2021 script adapter and Pokemon's Jessie voice actress Michelle Knotts. Quote, because that's what this is going to look like. Well, I think fans are going to be happier with that translation than what a lot of these Western localizers are doing in terms of like inputting things like Gamergate and Comicsgate and all that, into something that the Japanese obviously wouldn't be talking about. You know, I mean, I know even when Yellow Flash was covering this story, he was talking about the idea that the reason he reads manga, the reason a lot of people read manga right now, a lot of American fans are reading manga, is to get away from the messaging. You know, the letterer for Viz Media's English localization of Tizen 5's The Ichinose Family's Deadly Sins, at letterer Brendo, escalated the rhetoric by taking a moment, quote, to wish all the wonderful people of Mantra Inc. a very beautiful life of losing their job and starving on the street. Of course, hyperbole, because, Um, quote, also incredible how 99% of attempts to circumvent human input in the art of localization uses pirated bootleg Lafayette Comic Pro font, unquote, he added. Well, that's not true because they said they are using human editors. So that's also kind of false. He says no human input. No, there is going to be human input. They said they were going to use human editors. Quote, really not selling yourself as professional or competent to anyone who actually gives a bleep about these things. Get a real bleeping job. However, perhaps the most audacious critic of the ancient Magus bride's new translation method, particularly in light of her own history of defending ideological based translations such as transing of a main character in I Think I Turned My Childhood Friend into a Girl, or her own butchering of My Life as Inukai San's Dog, English subtitle, was notorious, quote unquote, or in smaller quotes, professional anime, manga, and video game localizer Katrina Leonodakis. Yes, we've heard, and I know that Vera Dark has been very critical of Katrina as well. Quote, I don't have work. And the reason these people are coming out of the woodworks like this, of course, is because they're basically losing their jobs. Companies are saying, you know something, we don't like what you're doing, so we're going to take it out of your hands and we're just going to do it ourselves. We'll use the AI and then we'll use human editors to fine tune it as needed. Um, See, I don't have words of how embarrassing and disappointing this is. What, embarrassing because you basically got fired? Miss Katrina? Is it embarrassing to you because you got fired for basically putting your own ideological spin into the work? Um, let's see. She began her criticism. Quote, instead of paying a human to do a quality job, they're using AI and to get mediocre product for free. No, they're just choosing not to pay humans who sit there and butcher their work, who disrespect their work by putting their own ideological spin into the material. Is this how little they think of English speaking audiences? Now, I think a lot of English speaking audiences are actually would be happy with this or translation for shame, unquote. Quote, audiovisual translators are already criminally underpaid, both due to the intrusion of machine translation in the field as a whole and the demand to work in the entertainment industry, she noted. Well, I mean, if it's such. Okay, if you don't like the working conditions, Katrina, maybe you should find another job. If you really don't like the working conditions, you really don't like the job, you know, maybe you should just find another job. Because you obviously got fired from this one. Quote, at least show your fans and creators more respect by giving them a human translation. Um, One, I think the creators are on board with this because they're probably not happy with the fact that you're putting your own ideological spin on it. And there are human editors who are going to be fine tuning it. So, you know, let's see. Well, I really wonder if creators know just how badly AI MT mangles the words they've crafted, unquote. She continued. Authors spend so long making sure their dialogue and narrative are written just so. Yeah, but the thing is, they probably don't like you mangling their work either. You want to trust Google Translate to handle your prose? Is that how you want your audiences to know you? Again, they're not using Google Translate. They're using a company called Mantra Company. They're using a different translating program altogether. So, within hours of ANN's coverage and the subsequent outrage it sparked, Bushy-Road Works would return to social media, offer a further statement clarifying the situation. Quote, firstly, regarding AI assisted translation, in smaller quotes here, we have implemented a system from Mantra Corporation, the publisher stated. Quote, this system combines their unique machine translation technology with the editing and proofreading of professional translators. So basically, the idea is that humans are going to be involved in this. Maybe not as many humans as currently are, or maybe the same amount, but just from a different perspective. Quote, next, about the purpose of simulcast distribution, unquote. Publisher continued, quote, unofficial translations are sometimes released for free and circulate as, in smaller quotes, pirated versions. So they're talking about fan subs, is what they're talking about. Fan translations. Illegal manga piracy sites that publish these cause serious harm to the manga culture industry both domestically and internationally. The Ancient Magus Bride has also continuously suffered from such damages. Initiatives like the one we are undertaking now have been proven effective in reducing piracy damage, as demonstrated by precedent cases with Shueisha's work, unquote. Drawing their statement to a close, Bushy-Road Works ultimately noted, quote, finally, regarding books produced and licensed officially by foreign publishers. If there are any offers from various companies, they will continue to be considered. If conditions are met, publications will proceed as before. Situation remains unchanged. Okay. Following the publisher's statement, Yamazaki would herself give approval to Bushy would herself give Bushy-Road Works partnership with would give approval to Bushy-Works. So Yamazaki is I believe the creator of so this is the creator of the very product you're saying is being is being cheated or being wronged. Partnership with Mantra Company, tweeting to her followers a few hours later, quote, about the simultaneous distribution of this work in 2 languages. Regarding pirated copies, I have also confirmed this. Pirated copies are being uploaded illegally in less than 2 days. This is not only true for this work, but also for other companies and other works. Quote, this is a personal opinion, unquote, she elaborated. In quote, in the art of translation, nothing beats the work of human translators. Know how many people read manga across borders? That would not have been possible without the help of the translators involved in this project. Unquote. Please keep that in mind, unquote, wrote Yamazaki. Quote, that is why I am so frustrated that people are reading pirated copies that were uploaded without the involvement of an official publisher. As for this case, I would be happy if you could look at it as a new way of doing things. Quote, the translation of a book is no different from the way it has been done in the past, unquote. The mangaka concluded, quote, this applies only to monthly serials. Please read the statement on the official account. My text alone is not complete, unquote. So basically, in their arguments, and a lot of these Western localizers arguments are saying that by doing this AI translation, they're hurting the creators. Well, the creator of the very series that they're talking about here is going to say, no, I actually approve of this. So what the Western localizers, what they're upset about is that they're basically being fired. They're being fired because like this one headline right here, Sentai Filmworks replaces the term lolicon with problematic age gap in their localization Dark Gathering anime. Stuff like that actually has more people up in arms, and why Bushy Road Works considered and is going through with with the AI human hybrid. And it's a hybrid. AI is not taking over translating, okay? It's an AI. AI will be doing most of the work, doing more of the work, but human editors are still going to be going in there and fine tuning it to fit certain aspects of it. Anyways, with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and start to wrap up? Of course, now what we'll do now, we'll talk about, of course, do some wrestling wrap up here, as it were. Um, you know, talking a little bit about some of the recent news, some of the recent news that's come out in the world of pro wrestling. WWE, Triple H has come out and talked about how he is looking to try to bring Sasha Banks back to the WWE family. She's of course she's been with with New Japan as Mercedes Moné. Talks have supposedly kind of halted with AEW. There's some talk that they might be trying to bring Sasha Banks back to the WWE, hopefully as early as Royal Rumble. Also, CM Punk had his first match yesterday in the WWE, taking on Dominic Mysterio, in which he won. Had a promo afterwards. On that same show yesterday, Seth Rollins paid tribute to Bray Wyatt and Brody Lee. And it was also said that yesterday's show for the WWE set new sales records as well. So that's all I got for the WWE side of it. Now, for some AEW news, on tonight's Dynamite, you of course have the finals of the Continental Classic tournament going on. A triple threat match in the Gold League final between Jon Moxley, Swerve Strickland, and Jay White. And in the Blue League final, you have, and these are the semifinals, Bryan Danielson taking on Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston looking for some redemption, looking to get his first win against Bryan Danielson in their history of facing off against each other. The winners of these two matches will be, of course, facing off at this Saturday's World's End pay-per-view. Let's see. Which right now, as you have that, you have MJF defending the AEW World Title against Samoa Joe. You have Hook defending the FTW title against Ring of Honor Pure Champion Wheeler Yuta. Toni Storm will be defending the AEW Women's World Title against inaugural AEW Women's World Champion Riho. Christian Cage will be defending the TNT title against Edge in a no DQ match. And also, aside and also the main event for tonight for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship, MJF and Samoa Joe will be defending the titles against a mystery team made up of the Devil's masked men, as it were. The Devil, this kind of ominous figure who's been kind of you know kind of lingering and haunting MJF of the late. So, and then the other match on tonight's Dynamite, Chris Statlander will be taking on Sky Blue. So, and the another match that also has been slated for this Saturday's World's End pay-per-view. Julia Hart defends the TBS title against Abaddon. So, and in some NWA news, as it were, on last night's, let's see, as I should probably, on last night's Power showing, Christmas Hangover. This is the 139th episode of Power. The Slime Balls won a Christmas Wish Tag Team Battle Royal, which helped them earn a shot at the NWA United States Tag Team Champions against the Immortals at January 13th Paranoia pay-per-view. In an intergender match, Missa Kate defeated Sal the Pal. And Daisy Kill and Talos defeated Carson Drake and Lord Cruz. So that's what happened on there. So with that, that's all I have for wrestling news for you. So now, why don't we go ahead and finish things off by, of course, taking a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History! All right, so let's see, 2017, 1993. 2018 and 2008. Okay. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History! So first off, we're going to head back 30 years ago. As on this date, 30 years ago, WCW held its Starrcade event. Let's see, from the Independence Arena in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was the first Starrcade to feature Ric Flair since the 1990 Starrcade event. The main event saw Ric Flair defeat Big Van Vader for the WCW World Heavyweight title. Of course, one of Flair's old rivals, Harley Race, was in the corner of Big Van Vader. Road Warrior Hawk and Sting defeated the Nasty Boys by DQ in a match for the WCW World Tag Team title match. In a best 2 out of 3 falls match for the WCW United States Championship, Steve Austin defeated Dustin Rhodes in 2 straight falls to become the new WCW United States Champion. Rick Rude retained the WCW International World Championship against the Boss, a.k.a. Big Boss from the WWE. Lord Steven Regal retained the World Television title in a time limit draw against Ricky Steamboat. And the night started off with Pretty Wonderful with the Assassin in their corner, defeating Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Too Cold Scorpio with Teddy Long in their corner. So 30 years ago today, Starrcade 1993 occurred. So with that, moving on to the next piece of Nietzsche history. On this day in 2008, On this date in 2008, on this date in 2008, A1 Pictures' Kanagi Crazy Shrine Maidens would complete its run on Japanese television. So on this date, back in 2008, 15 years ago today, a Shrine Maidens would complete its run on Japanese television. Its first run, as it were. Moving ahead to 2017, on this date 6 years ago today, the 5th issue of BPRD, The Devil You Know, from Dark Horse went on sale on this date back in 2017. So 6 years ago today, Dark Horse's BPRD, The Devil You Know, the 5th issue, went on sale on this date 6 years ago today. It was written by Mike Mignola, art by Lawrence Campbell. Clem Robbins did the lettering, and the coloring was done by Dave Stewart. And finally, 5 years ago today, on this date, 5 years ago today, as soon as we pull that up, Warner Brothers Animation's DC Superhero Girls would conclude its run on Netflix on this date. Back in 2018. So 5 years ago today, DC Superhero Girls would conclude its run on Netflix. They originally started on Cartoon Network, and I think they were eventually moved over to YouTube and then Netflix. So on this date, the final episode of DC Superhero Girls would air, and it would conclude their run. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Tomorrow night, of course, we'll be hitting up on Indie Comic Showcase. Also, I think there will be one other article we'll be looking at from there that kind of caught my attention. I'll add more about that. Friday, of course, have RJ Carter coming in to join me as we I'm thinking here as we will be looking back to comics that went on sale in January 1940. We'll be focusing in on Harvey Comics. We'll be looking at, of course, Speed Comics Volume 1, Number 6, and Champion Comics Volume 1, Number 5. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.